We are talking about Cyclone, a 1987 movie directed by Fred Olen Ray, with a pretty good cast actually. You've got Heather Thomas as our main character, Teri. Heather Thomas you probably will mostly know from the Fall Guy TV series. You've got Jeffrey Combs, of course, a horror staple. Dar Robinson, who was a very, very renowned stuntman who did actually a few acting roles as well. He plays one of the bad guys, and he died shortly after shooting this movie, shooting a different film, but he died in a motorbike accident whilst making a film, and this film's actually dedicated to him. You've got Martin Landau and Dawn Wildsmith, a renowned scream queen. So a pretty good cast, and the movie is clearly influenced by the Street Hawk TV show, which came out like a year or two prior to this, and this is obviously the kind of the cash-in attempt, and it follows a very sort of similar path. Jeffrey Combs plays a kind of genius inventor who has sort of taken some government money and made a kind of technological marvel bike, but also more importantly made a new type of fuel sort of invention really that uses hydrogen, and everyone kind of wants to get their hand on it, and Heather Thomas plays his girlfriend. So you got this like, you know, we got a super nerdy guy making this kind of like this bike, and then his super hot kind of like girlfriend. It's a very strange mix and doesn't, you know, isn't quite realistic, you might say, but nonetheless, I actually think the actors make it quite work. They do seem kind of quite cute, odd couple. Anyway, and he's murdered by kind of, you know, the bad guys, and then she had to take the mantle and, you know, try and keep this technology out of the kind of the bad guys' hands by kind of becoming a vigilante. So this is like a science fiction-esque action sort of B-movie, really. First of all, let's talk about works. Okay, the cast I think is great in this. It's really a fun cast. Jeffrey Combs is only in about a quarter of the film. It is, you know, a supporting role, but he is good in it, and I like his interactions with Heather Thomas because it's such a kind of unlikely pairing. But the actors are clearly enjoying it and having a good time. So they kind of are still quite cute together. So I did quite like that. I actually think Dar Robinson makes a great bad guy. So, you know, obviously he was primarily a stuntman, but he does a pretty good job here of making a convincing sort of albino-esque style kind of hitman that is genuinely quite menacing at times. I kind of did like that. And actually the stunts are pretty good in this. Obviously it's a lower budget film. They don't have quite the money to spend on elaborate, you know, stunt work and stuff like that. But nonetheless, there are some pretty decent stunts here, obviously particularly involving vehicular changes and things like this. So that was kind of quite fun. There is a little bit. The bike is obviously a little bit more, has a few kind of lasers attached to it, which is kind of fun. And you know, it's quite well paced. There's kind of lots of set pieces and actions and things like that. There's a hell of a lot of bad guys in this movie. I have to say, it was like, when it all comes down to it, you do think, man, how the good guys are going to prevail? But there seems to be a hell of a lot of bad guys in this. What doesn't work? To be honest, I think the main thing here, it's meant to be like a Street Hawk style rip-off, homage, however you want to say it. But there's really only two scenes that involve the bike. One kind of in the middle, which is a relatively mundane chase sequence outside of a car kind of getting sheared in two. And then the kind of the final sequence, which is the only time that we actually see the bike using its weapons. So if you're wanting kind of Street Hawk style, kind of like lots of science fiction bike stuff, it's a little light on that, to be honest. The acting by some of the characters, and I have to be honest with you, Heather Thomas is part of this, isn't brilliant, if we're being honest. But I will say, even though I think Heather Thomas' acting, you know, is a little bit on the kind of the wonky side, she still is quite fun in the role. It's kind of like cheesy fun, but not kind of sort of brilliant. The budget does shine through. It's just super cheesy, and you know, it's just a pure B movie in the kind of the best sense of the word, in the fact that the situations that people find themselves in just look cheap. For example, we have this sequence in like a warehouse, and you know, it's meant to be that there's weapons, they're smuggling weapons. There's lots of clearly kind of like empty boxes that are just sort of cardboard boxes that are piled up, and they may sort of had like, you know, acne on the kind of on the other side of the box. It looks just like ridiculously kind of cheap sort of set design and sort of things like that. And when we go to this nightclub, and there's like with Jeffrey Combs, it's the scene with Jeffrey Combs. You know, it's meant to be like this nightclub. There's about 20 people in there, so it's just like it really kind of sparkles under some of the kind of its aspirations. I think, obviously, probably hampered by a, you know, relatively short shooting time and kind of budgetary restraints. I think this movie is still enjoyable for some fun kind of like stunt work and the kind of some of the characters and the actors here, but the actual Cyclone itself is depressingly kind of minimalised here. As I say, we don't really get much in the way of its weapon side of stuff until right at the end, and even then it's probably like a couple of lasers get shot out, and that's kind of it. We never really see it kind of do super speed or anything like that. So the actual kind of the Cyclone bike itself, you know, we're told it's a $5 million, you know, dollar bike and stuff like this. It seems a little bit crap, to be honest, for kind of a lack of better word, really. Jeffrey Combs is fun. Heather Thomas is fun. And she does have some quite good comedic scenes, I will say. And there's certainly lots of voluptuous women here and kind of the screen queens and stuff like that. So it's a cheesy, fun film. I think it's a kind of like an average 80s B movie, to be honest. It's kind of the sort of typical thing you'd see on, you know, on VHS in the kind of the 80s. I'll probably give it a 4 out of 10. I think it's... which isn't necessarily bad. It's just a little bit of a, you know, below average film for that kind of this sort of style budget. But it's worth a watch if you like a bit of B-movie fun. It's just nothing special. Unfortunately, the whole conceit with the actual bike is, unfortunately, a missed opportunity, which is kind of why I'll refrain from giving it a 5. Because the bike barely features, to be honest with you. So 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.